Hello YouTube friends, welcome back to another video, the third one. Today, I'm going to talk to you about what I learned being a barista for 2 years. So, got my coffee here, and I am ready to appropriately talk about coffee. Yeah, so I've got my Spider-Man mug, but it's not always Spider-Man, because if you turn around, whoop, it is now, I don't know, is that gonna be mirrored? Oh, I don't know, I'm using my front-facing camera. It says Spider-Man, though. It says Spider-Man, and it also has a picture of, who is that? I think that's the green, no, that's that's Dr. Octopus, that's not the Green Lantern. It's close, not quite. But yeah, so, what did I learn being a barista for 2 years? Story time. So, first of all, technically I was a barista for 1 year and 8 months. But that would make a terrible video title. What I learned being a barista for 1 year and 8 months. That would make a terrible title for a video. So, 2 years it is. Now, moving on. So I worked at a place in my hometown in Memphis, Tennessee. I'm not going to mention names of restaurants, obviously, because I feel like that would be a little bit, that would infringe a bit on privacy. So, not going to do that. But I worked there. It was my third job, I think. I think I was about 22 or 23 at the time. And so I was, still a bit inexperienced. Crazy to think that was 3 years ago. Huh? Crazy. But it was my first, not my first, it was actually my second barista job, technically. I worked at another smaller place for a little while before that. And so, relatively speaking, I was still kind of new to the whole coffee scene. But I did learn a lot there, and I definitely learned what makes a good cup of coffee and what does not. So, I quickly realized that being a barista can sometimes be a stressful job. Because sometimes people like to come to your restaurant all at the same time and make a line out the door. Okay, so that's usually a really great time when people make a line out the door. It's also a really great time when something breaks or you run out of a very important ingredient, such as, I don't know, eggs or bread or coffee. Funny story, I think that actually did happen once. I remember one time, I think we ran out of espresso beans. Like, we ran out of the espresso, right? And so all we had was drip, okay? So I told people this, and my solution was to make all the different lattes and stuff, like caramel lattes, white chocolate mochas, whatever, with drip instead of the espresso. And it kind of worked, I guess. I don't know. I mean, most people didn't finish their drink, so I guess it wasn't very good. I dumped a lot of coffee that day. That was a terrible day. My goodness. So yeah, learned pretty quick that it can be a stressful job. And more often than not, I didn't handle the stress as well as I could have. It's not that I was getting, totally frustrated and just throwing my arms in the air and being like, oh, whatever, screw you guys. It's not like that on the outside, but inwardly, I definitely was getting more stressed than I should have. But nonetheless, I still enjoyed my job there relatively, and it was a pretty easy job at the end of the day, so it wasn't all so bad. Now, fast forward a few months, several months, nearing the end of my time at the coffee shop, it unfortunately ended up going out of business. Okay, just a lot of different things, a lot of bad situations with the landlord, and the place we were renting was very expensive, we couldn't afford it, blah, 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 blah. Lots of crazy stuff. Long story short, went out of business. And so I go on the hunt for a new job, and I end up at a place called FedEx. So if you know anything about shipping or delivering packages or using Amazon, you've probably heard of FedEx. And so that was my job. That's what I did. And man, that is another video I need to make for sure. I'm gonna log that away. Because man, I've got stories. I've got stories of that place, that's for sure. Good ones too. So I work at FedEx, and I quickly begin to realize that in comparison to the previous coffee shop job, this is a lot more stressful. Way more stressful than anything that happened at the coffee shop. So, getting to the main point of the video, what did I learn from being a barista for 2 years? Well, aside from the actual barista stuff, like how to dial in good espresso and how to make pretty latte art that white girls will take pictures of and put on Instagram, what I really learned was that the longer you live and the greater variety of jobs that you have, you're going to be challenged in your various workplaces. The more you're going to be challenged and a lot of times stressed in overcoming each new challenge that you encounter. You can see, in other words, a gradual arc of growth, sort of, in the different jobs that I've had that have grown progressively more and more challenging in different ways. So in pretty much every way imaginable, FedEx was a more demanding job than the coffee shop ever was. Okay? The work was physically more demanding, the environment was way less safe, it was much more dangerous, and the people weren't always nearly as nice. Okay? People at FedEx aren't very nice. But I learned, as I stepped up to each challenge that I faced, how to grow and how to adapt and get stronger and get better and more competent in the face of those new challenges. And the same is true in the job that I'm in right now, which is being an auxiliary, a teaching assistant in Spain. Aside from all the challenges of moving abroad, there's a whole slew of challenges that come with teaching high schoolers how to speak a foreign language. You better believe that's true, and it's totally different than working at FedEx. It's a totally different set of challenges. Okay, and I definitely found myself at times, especially near the beginning of the job, very stressed and not really knowing what to do. That's kind of how I ended up at the beginning of every job, really. I don't know if that's a good thing or not. Maybe some of you can relate. So that near the beginning of the job, things are usually the most stressful because you're learning, you're adapting, and you don't really know what's going on. And you're asking a lot of questions, some of which are stupid questions. That's okay. So what I learned from working at the coffee shop didn't come directly from the coffee shop. But really, looking back on the coffee shop and comparing it to some of the current jobs or some of the most recent jobs that I've had. And it's that, essentially, doing new things will challenge you and will make you uncomfortable. And that's really how it should be. That's usually how challenging new things are, is they're uncomfortable. But it's also really good for you, because looking back now, I feel like I could handle that coffee shop a lot better than I did at the time, because I realized how relatively not stressful the coffee shop actually was. Let me know in the comments below if you've worked any jobs that you thought were really difficult at the time, but looking back, are actually not as hard as you thought, and that you maybe grew from and you learned something from. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow. Take care.